Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So we thought we'd go over chapter 10 of taking abroad again. Now, we did chapter 10 over 2 weeks, and last week was cut into two because of my internet outage. And a lot kind of happened in that chapter. It was a long chapter, and it was also enraging as well because like you, Tiffany, actually lost your shit at one point reading that, didn't you?
I did. I
Um,
did. It was very annoying.
yeah. um, just let. I think we can all mirror that, but it was kind of interesting to listen to you kind of lose it because you've read pretty much all of this book, um, without losing it. But obviously, this was kind of a monumental moment in the book.
Hmm.
For reasons just I mean what we're going to do, guys, we're not going to like recite it again. We're just going to kind of breathe through it and see if we can pick out we're just going to pick out our favorite bits. And you see, I just let us know if the audio's okay in the chat, everybody, and thanks for joining us, by the way. I was thinking about this before. I had some thoughts about the book. It's too easy to pick apart a book like this because it's written by someone with no literary skill, and no writing experience. So it is very, very easy to pick apart a book like this. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that because he's put it out there for people to read, and obviously, um, he's not a very popular guy, is he? So, well, he is popular, but for the wrong reasons. Um, so I was thinking, like, we have to try. It's more important for me to try and gain some kind of an insight in it. We can obviously pick apart the story and the writing because that's kind of what we're doing. But I'm kind of more leaning towards the what does this say about his state of mind kind of thing. Um, and I wanted to ask each of you actually. You first. Shin's manhole is back. It's great to.
I see that. Yeah.
I was
um,
thinking about you today. I was wondering if you were going to show up. And there you are.
without fail.
Of course.
I
Right.
wonder
That's my
where Shin's
shadow.
chewing is. We've not seen that guy for a while.
Or my sexy umpire pants. That's my favorite one.
No, that's just you. That's just you making up a
Yeah, I
fucking
actually made that
fake
name. I actually
account.
went on and did that.
um, like we've already established, right, that the main sort of focal point of this book, if you will, is the book should be called "I Never Even Meant to Kill Anyone," right?
That's
Now,
right.
Yes.
but Tiffany, I want to ask you. You have a good insight on this guy, having spoke to him for a number of hours. Do you think that narrative, if you can call it that, is deliberate or not on his part? Was it him trying to explain away deliberately his excuses, or is it a subconscious thing that that this book?
Hmm.
What do you
Well,
think?
I think he's writing about what he knows, and I
Yes,
know
Amanda James
clearly.
is here. Can you just say? Sorry to interrupt. Can I just say hello, Amanda James?
Hello.
Yeah, sorry, Tiffany. Go on.
We got her in a little box.
Yeah,
So we let her out once in a while.
apologies for the interruption, Tiffany. I'm very rude, but yeah,
No
sorry. The
worries.
question with regard to how conscious he is of this silly, I never even meant to kill anyone. How deliberate is it?
Well, I think it is deliberate because he's writing about what he knows. So the details of the story, as far as going over to Iraq and experiencing war, he doesn't understand any of that. So he's just using really maybe little bits of things that he's heard, or he's assuming what it would be like for somebody to lose it and what happens after the fact. But ultimately, what is underlying here is that he's writing about what he believes. So he believes that the relationship with his mother should be this way. So that's what he's writing. He believes that his relationship with his girlfriend, who's going to turn into his wife, is going to be this way that we're seeing in here. So that's what he writes about. He believes that somebody could go through such a trauma as going to war and experiencing the things that Aaron did, to where, you know, he's traumatized. So he doesn't quite understand why he's not who he used to be. And now he's going through this. So it's almost like he's an unintentional monster. And that is what Lorne believes. So that's what he writes about.
Wow. And Lorne is the unintentional monster without the awareness either. He's actually, in fact, Aaron's got a step above him. Aaron knows what's happening to him, whereas kind of Lorne doesn't. Or does he?
What a great new moniker. The unintentional monster.
It is actually, isn't it? It's quite profound, that.
Yeah.
But nobody's really a deliberate monster, or there may be exceptions. But people who think they're evil generally don't see themselves that way. It's usually the case. Lorne knows. I think there is a level of awareness of Lorne that he knows that he'll do.
Well, we already know what that is. He tries to project it. He tries to tell you what he knows what's good and what's bad, and his perception that he tries to, give off to people is that he's good. He knows what good is. He just
I don't think he
does
does.
Shit wrong.
I don't think he does know what good is. I think the point that was made maybe last week when someone said Lorne can't even create a character that's, I can't remember the word,
Likeable.
but like virtuous.
Likeable.
Or
yeah.
It doesn't exist in his world. I don't think his reality can cope with a selfless act. And I think that's indicative of people like Lorne. When you see people who sorry?
No, I'm just saying hi to somebody. Sorry, I just try to sneak it in.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
You've got to speak to your adoring fans, haven't you, dude? You know. I've lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, so the sort of behavioural traits that Lorne displays is very common in people like him. I know I always will revert back to this, but I think it's important to mention that the characteristics that Lorne displays of not being able to, have a selfless act, being narcissistic. There are millions of people like that in the world that are not capable of true goodness. It's just why there's so many bad things that happen in the world. Lorne's just a sort of caricature, really, of that type of person. Very humorous, which is why we can kind of examine him and not get too kind of bogged down with the negativity and have a bit of a laugh, because he's just comical, isn't he? You know, it's so funny. Because as enraging as the book can be, the humour that we've got out of it. I actually listened back to that bit when Tiffany lost her shit, and it was actually quite funny. Because as soon as the character said, or the story said, Amber looked at what's he called, Aaron, with pity. You just said, "Oh, fuck off." It's like
yeah. To go back to your question about whether he intentionally wrote this to excuse his behavior. To add to Tiffany's point, you got to remember where he was and what his mindset was at the time he wrote this. This is during the heat of the lawsuits and and all the stuff we see in the prison journal, and as his probation officer says, this is kind of like a manifesto of sorts, for him, a manifesto of deflection, manifesto, whatever you want to call it. But if you consider his mindset at that time, it's, I don't think he did it intentionally, but I think that was the only thing that he was obsessed with. It just leaked in, maybe, who knows? But the whole story is about it.
If I can add to that, though, his mindset at that time is the mindset that he still has. And it's the mindset that he had before he did this, what caused him to run away to Nashville.
Well, what about all the things you got him to self-reflect about and be remorseful and all that. You're saying that went out the window? You think he still feels that way?
Of course, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that when he's remorseful, those are things that he's aware of. He knows that he's done shitty things, and those are the things that he can't deny. So he will say stuff like, I know what I said in that stupid conversation. He knows that he did. He can't get away from it because it's right in his face, and he can't say that it didn't happen. He's tried.
He's tried to say that, hasn't he?
He's tried to, but he knows that. He knows that those phone calls with the decoy are him. He knows that he's the one who walked into the house. So he can't deny all of those things. But if you also listen to the conversations that revolve around talking about this and having him accept responsibility, he will say things like, you're not going to get that out of me, or you're not going to drag that out of me.
Yeah.
And it's because he knows that he would be making a full admission if he's actually being truthful, and he can't do that. And the reason why he's able to hold on to that is because we cannot know with 100% certainty what's in his mind. We can't do that for anybody. So his thoughts are his own. Those are the only things, even though he acts out on parts of them, but he can say, you don't know, you don't understand, you don't know what I was thinking. He says that a lot, yeah.
Well, it's the refuge thing he does, where you don't know what's going on in my mind. I'm the only one who knows.
Yeah.
Definitely. You can't prove that. You can never prove that, obviously, right? But if the criminal court had to do that, nobody would go to jail.
Absolutely. But that is what Lorne holds on to.
He's still got that to cling on to with regard to, when he was speaking to Ramona, and I'm sure he said it in other times as well, where he says, I wouldn't have been able to. I was fucked up at the time. Tony knows I wouldn't have. Mom, no. We can't say...
That's a short list, though. Then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of them was
a very
his mother.
Exclusive list.
Yeah. Wendy knows I wouldn't have. Roscoe knows
Uncle
I wouldn't
Clay.
have. But we can't
Not the
say...
guy at Circle K.
Yeah. No matter how much you wait, Lorne, you can't say that 100% that he would have done something physically with Kayla had Kayla been real or Casey Moreau. Now, I believe that he would have done, right? For argument's sake, if the situation had presented itself in a certain way, I believe he would have done something physical with someone of that age. But he can always say...
I think.
He can always say
he's
that...
asking her for a kiss.
Yeah, oh yeah, but it still didn't happen though, did it? You can't... well, I'm dealing with facts. The facts are he didn't do anything. So he can always revert back and say, I wouldn't have done anything. Which is what he tries to say. It is possible. I'm not saying it would have happened because I don't believe it would have done, but it is possible that he could have fucking had a moment and thought, what the fuck am I doing? I don't think that would have happened at all. Because I don't think he has that switch where I think there's some predators that could have gone to the house that were on TCAP that could have had that moment where they were like, what the fuck am I doing? I think that could have happened to some of them, but not him, in my opinion.
He was at the point of no return, Andrew.
Yeah, I agree.
He was thrilled.
Yeah.
He was so excited to be there. He asked her for a kiss 3 times. I have no doubt that, of course you're right. We could never really know exactly what he would have done, for certain, but all the evidence shows that he wouldn't have said, you know what, this is wrong. I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this.
The only thing that prevented him from lunging at Kayla, like he said he was going to do in the chat log, we're going to make out as soon as I see you, that kind of thing, is his lack of confidence in real life situations.
Yeah, I agree.
Low self-esteem. He had all the intentions in the world. He's that guy in that chat log. He's that guy in that chat log when he arrived, but confronted with a real situation, he suddenly, all of his shortcomings became a little more raw for him, and he just wanted to kind of tiptoe through it, but he was still going forward. He was definitely going to do it. If Casey was extremely, say, promiscuous or affectionate or anything like that, they would have been rolling around the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I think is interesting and infuriating about Lorne, going back to his intention and how much it matters. He always says he wants points for never wanting to be that guy. He said that over and over again to many different people he's talked to. I never wanted to be that guy. I always loved kids. I never wanted to be that person to do that. Who does? Who, when they're a child, sits there in fourth grade thinking, what do I want to be when I grow up? I want to be the neighborhood pervert. I want to chase, I want to be the guy who's out of high school, but driving around the playground looking for girls. Nobody wants to do that. And Lorne never wanted to be perceived in that way, but he certainly did want to do it. We know he spoke to many young girls, but he thinks that's a virtue in itself, that he never sat back like an evil villain and thought, I'm going to take advantage of as many little girls as I want to, and I don't care who it affects. But the fact remains, he still wanted the outcome from that.
Yeah. And I'll go out on a limb. I think he was always like this. I think he might have had kind of a reputation growing up as this weird kid. I mean, we hear all these stories about him jerking off on the bus. We don't know if any of that is true, or exposing himself to a fellow student. But we do, again, he was a social outcast, and there has to be a reason for that. So for all we know, this is something that he's been trying to escape for a very, very long time.
It's interesting because I've seen people while I've been growing up who I've known from like early life, when they were in at school, early days, and they were a normal kid. And this is going to sound like I'm backing Lorne up, but I can assure you I'm not. And they had a rough time, bullied, humiliated, and they did end up going down the path that Lorne's gone down and turning creepy. Now, there are some kids that get humiliated and get bullied that don't turn out creepy. That why is a conversation for another time. But I think that for some people, and I don't know enough about Lorne's past because that's why I'm interested in it really, sometimes people can just turn that way. But of course that doesn't mean that they lose their free will. I find the philosophical sort of argument very interesting. It's like, how much free will does one have when they're subjected to terrible things? If he finished bottom of his class, like we believe, that will have had a massive impact on his self-esteem. If he had no...
I don't think it had an impact. I think it was reflective of what was already going on. I don't think it had an impact. I think he was already a loser up to that point. I'm sorry, Andrew, to interrupt, but I'm just saying, I don't think there's one event that did it. I think it was just, throughout his, I couldn't tell you. This is all just spitballing, but it must go back to the first time he was being socialized with people. I think he was just one of these weird, inappropriate kids or something. I don't know. There's a reason why he doesn't have friends.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I always try, and I suppose I'm trying to look for, not give him a break because he's made all these decisions. People know my philosophy. I don't believe that people are born evil. I believe they're made through poor choices and circumstances. I think that nobody's inherently evil. So, if you want to call Lorne evil, that's like a personal choice on what you think is that way. But it's like he always has an opportunity to do better, and he never does. So he has that ability to make the right decision, and he never does. But for him to turn into that guy that said all those things in that chat log, it's like, fucking hell, that's what really interested me from the start.
Andrew, are you saying he's not evil because you don't believe in evil?
Not in the way that most people do. Not that, I mean, my way of thinking winds a lot of people up, so I try not to talk about it because I'm not interested in convincing anybody.
Fuck it, just say it, man.
It's okay. No, but I'm not. The reason being, I'm not interested in a debate with anybody. You always get some smart ass in the comments who goes, "You're talking shit," But I'm quite confident in my own in my own counsel. I don't need verification.
No, but let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this: if evil did exist the way people do that you don't necessarily agree with, would you say he's evil?
Not Lorne, no. No, I don't think he's evil per se. I mean, we're getting really like deep and philosophical here, but like.
Well, I know, but I disagree with you. I think he is evil. But that's just
no, well, that's good.
me. And he's stupid.
I like the fact that you disagree. I like to have that kind of debate. I have done that many, many times. Grogu. Hello, Grogu. Grogu's in the chat. Fucking brilliant. I just think about it this way, right? When baby Lorne was baby Lorne, before there was any decision making and all that, was that baby evil?
No, well, that's not how I define evil. I mean, it's not
right. So
it's not organic.
He's made some bad. So he's turned evil. Then is what you're
sorry.
saying?
Yeah, evil.
Right?
Is an evil? Isn't he? Let's put it this way: is he an evil doer?
Well, he's incredibly selfish. I would, if you are going to say someone is evil on this planet, it's someone who purposely goes out of their way to cause people harm. Lorne doesn't do that, but given the chance, if it benefited him, he would cause people harm to an extent. Betty, for instance.
He wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, he wouldn't give a shit. If he could gain something from it, like the Betty situation, like Kayla, I mean, the things that he does in that chat are sick. Lorne has got a sick mind. He's incapable of a truly selfless act. Because he doesn't know what one is, I don't think. It's not in his reality. It's like asking the fucking lion not to chase after the young lamb. It's not going to happen. But if you're going to say good and bad, he's a bad person because he's dangerous in that given circumstances he could harm a child like he's tried to. Everybody can agree with that. Everybody can agree with me on that. Some people don't agree with my philosophy on what good and bad is. But I just think that...
No, I agree with you. Your situation where if he had a chance to benefit himself and to the detriment of someone else, he would do it with no problem.
And there's
that sums it up to me.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And there's lots of, but I don't believe that he's inherently evil. That he's, that I think what happens is, it always stuck with me a book that I read that said that, I think it was the 4 agreements about the words that you choose and how important they can be.
Yes, nuances and whatnot, definitions and values that are thrown in there and everything else. It's very subjective. I get it.
Yeah, there was one bit that said that I think it was mainly talking about parenting, and it was said that if something is said to a child at a certain point in their life, they'll never recover. If some child is told at a certain point, you are stupid or or whatever, that damage can never be undone, or it can be really difficult. Now, I don't know enough about Lorne's background to say conclusively that someone said something to him, but we've got to look at me and Tiffany have talked about this a little bit, is that he had a challenging upbringing, as millions do. So I'm not saying that everybody that he's had that, so let's give him a break, because lots of people do and they don't turn out like that. But there's a certain set of circumstances, plus his genetics, that have made him what he is. And at this moment in time, he can't or won't, I don't know which step out of it. Whether he can't find the courage, whether he's incapable. Because in order for him to get better, as Tiffany has tried to tell him and he's not listening, the one thing he has to do is fully acknowledge what he's done. Not to anybody else. It's irrelevant what he says to someone else. But to himself. But to agree and make that contract with himself that I did something terrible. And it wasn't mac and cheese. It wasn't meatballs. It wasn't Chris Hansen. It was me. And I made that decision. And I'm a shitty fucking person. And at that point, that's when you can become better. But he can't do that. Because in order to do that, what he is now would have to be destroyed. It's kind of like a death in a way, because he's created this character, this bizarre fictional character that just can't take any, that just deflects everything, and that's like a defense mechanism. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any thoughts on this, Tiffany?
About,
I can imagine
yeah,
you seething with rage at what I've said.
No, I'm not seething with rage. I understand it. I've certainly had my own thoughts on this, and, it comes down to what is evil. And I can think of reading stories of child predators who are sadists, who like the pain. That's what they're after. They like the torture and the reaction of the kids screaming and crying. And that's what it is for them. For Lorne, I think that I do agree with what you said in that he's incredibly selfish. He is going to do whatever he wants. And what's unfortunate for him is that the things that he wants are against the law, like drinking and driving and going and exposing himself to kids and all of that. I don't think that his intent is in the evil part of it. Like with what I just said, with those people who like the torture element of doing this. I think that he's so delusional that he justifies his actions. And he says that, his Molly was his friend. And according to him, we had feelings for each other. Now, he's not able to step outside of that and say, I was an adult in my 30s, and this is a 14-year-old girl in high school. Having feelings for each other is not a thing. It certainly isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also with him stealing from Betty, I don't think that he started that job with the intention of running away with all of that money. His intention was to do a half-assed job like he always did, and he would have walked away. He never would have gone to Nashville. He would have completed that one, moved on to the next, and that would have been it. So it wasn't like, Lorne's at home wringing his hands and thinking of how he can hurt people. I think the thing is that what he wants is something, and unfortunately people get hurt. But because he is so selfish, he can't see past that. He will only think about himself. And his excuse is always, well, nobody's perfect. Nobody else, thinks about other people. That's what he would say. If your statement to him would be, Lorne, you don't think of other people, he would say, well, nobody else thinks of other people either. That's what his response would be, because that it's the only way that he can go. That's the only way he can defend himself, and he will keep doing that for literally everything. So, yeah.
He can fool you too. He can fool you. And the thing is, we judge him off of what we know. And the thing is, as we discover things that we didn't know before that are really depraved, like the Molly situation, the other woman, the other girl he was talking to, we realize we don't really know him. We really don't understand that this is a pattern. This is who he is. And, I said this in a chat a couple days ago. Lorne will try as often as he can to do more, let's just say, harm than he can. And my guess is that the Molly situation, he probably tried to ingrain himself into her circle of friends or whatever, and possibly try to get more networks. Maybe he was having communications with other, you don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me anymore. It did before, when I thought he was just this big doof. And then the child porn and the, all that other stuff you add on to it. It's hard to evaluate whether he's a real bad guy unless we know the truth. And when he tells you, Tiffany, you're not going to get me to open up about that, things like that, his voice changes completely. Mm-hmm. Like it's the dark shit he doesn't want to talk about.
Yeah, and I think part of that, honestly, is because he knows that he's being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, you're not going to get me. You're not going to trick me there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there was
Like, how
the
much worse
therapist
can you
stuff,
say?
wasn't there, with Sam Pendleton, when, because there was times when he was trying to get him to open up and he wouldn't have it. It's happened a few times, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's always when you're here, you know, he'll want to talk about all that stuff, but he's not going to do it over the phone, because for as much as we say Lorne's an idiot, how can he not know? He's been exposed so many times, and here he is picking up the phone again. He does know.
I often wonder what
Yeah.
would it be like for Tiffany and Matt if you guys went there for him to show you his innocence and what a good guy he is? What would that be like?
Oh,
It would be a bunch of bullshit. I mean, it would actually be, it would be his story about how he's innocent and how he's not that bad of a guy is going to be as strong as changing the letters of Philip E to spell pedophile. That would be his evidence. You know?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's got papers. They're just somewhere. He's got to find them. He's got a whole box of papers. He found all kinds of evidence on them, but it's just somewhere in the trailer. He's going to find it later. Don't worry.
Imagine him laying them out on the table and letting you guys look at it.
Yeah, his in-depth information is all bullshit.
Yeah, like ABC doing an investigation on NBC.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
He's grasping at straws. But to go back really quick to Molly and Melissa, and back to what you said, Tiffany, about him justifying what he does. Do you remember the first thing he said when he was telling you about Molly and Melissa? He said, Molly had a lot of problems. That was the first thing he said about her. She had a lot of problems, and I helped her. Basically, that's how he feels to this day. He was her friend, and he helped her through her problems. She was going through stuff with her boyfriend, her little high school boyfriend, her siblings, her parents, like normal kid stuff. And he was there with his dick out, being a mentor and helping her. And he said the same thing about Melissa. He said she was hurting when I met her. What the fuck does that mean? And how does he not see that makes him look 10 times worse? It makes him look like he was targeting vulnerable young girls.
Yeah.
You know, vulnerable and damaged young girls, so he could get what he wanted out of them.
I'm not sure he targeted vulnerable girls specifically, because I don't think he cares whether they're vulnerable or not. I believe that people like him end up with vulnerable people because they're the only people that they can get to get close to them, because they are in need of love, or they're in need of something that even Lorne can give them, which is usually just attention and nice, pleasant words that are masked. They're not really pleasant. Well, they are pleasant words on the surface, but underneath them it's all selfish, because a true love, this is going to sound really sort of fruity, but it is true. A true love is something that doesn't need anything. So if you want something from somebody, it isn't real love. Real love is unconditional. It means that you don't need anything from that person. You have such strong feelings that they're there and that's all you need. If you need and want something, it isn't it. And that Lorne that's something he can't grasp. It doesn't exist for him. And the words that he will have given to those people will have been enough for them. That's all they needed to hear. And people like Molly and people like that who are vulnerable, have come from that kind of background, they will be attracted to that, because and it may be that they're in such a position that there's only people like Lorne who can give them those words, because, you know, I believe, was it Molly's was a parent, the father alcoholic or something, that did Lorne say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is your typical example. It's a young girl that comes from a broken home, his father may or may not be abusive, he's got a drinking problem, they will have not been nurtured, properly loved, they are there, they're going to get picked off by people like Lorne, because Lorne can only get somebody like that. Lorne's not going to attract anybody his own age. And people like Lorne, the reason I don't say I believe it's true evil, if you want to make that distinction, is because people like Lorne, who are at such a low level of sophistication, in a lot of cases, they're in survival mode. So what are they doing? They're searching. Lorne's trying to survive, and part of a survival mechanism for a guy is that attraction to women. Some people like Dustin McFetridge have that genetic thing in them that they're attracted to children heavily. I don't know how deep that runs in Lorne, but people like Lorne, they're in survival mode. I need a mate. If I can't find one in the adult world, I will find one in the fucking pre-teen world. Do you know what I mean? They're not all like that, because you get...
Children are vulnerable.
Yeah. So I think it goes in tune with how he kind of works. He doesn't go out purposely trying to harm people, but if he can get something out of it, he'll do it, and he'll justify it in his mind, because he doesn't want to think of himself as being bad, but he'll do it if it means he'll gain something. That's where the lack of integrity comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. He didn't. I don't think he's smart enough to target people like that to begin with. But I don't think he did that. I think he just cast out a net, and the only thing he caught was small fish, and he just didn't throw them back.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. That's the only option he had by circumstance. It was just happy. I'm sure he was probably trying to chat it up with adult women.
Yeah. It didn't even say once. I can't. It might have even been one of the calls with you, Tiffany, where he said, I don't know whether he was speaking the truth or trying to curry favor or sympathy, but he said he didn't think he was confident enough to get anybody his own age. He said that once. I definitely heard that.
Yeah, did he say that about confidence? He did say that?
No.
He said decent. He couldn't find anybody decent.
Yeah, that's right. Might not have been confidence, the word that he used.
Yeah.
Well, that's important, because essentially what he's saying is people who weren't worthy of him. And those are people who probably rejected him, so he didn't want him anyway.
Well, that's the thing. That's what it is. He's saying that as almost like a defense. It's kind of like, if you don't get invited somewhere, but a bunch of people are going, and you start to say, well, I didn't want to go anyway.
Right.
So I think that's what he means by I couldn't find anybody decent. It's not that he couldn't find anybody that he would have been interested in, because truth be told, Lorne's going to be interested in whoever.
Yeah, and I dread to know what Lorne's definition of decent is.
Well, it's somebody who's interested in him. It's somebody who's...
just in general. Well,
he has such an inflated opinion of himself.
Do you know
he thinks he deserves and can do a lot better than the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that Winnie character, right? I've never... I've not listened to it. I can't stand to listen to it, but... I believe the character was deliberately made that way, as if to say, like, let's create the worst character we can. What were the pictures like of her? Because if you just listen to that person and you just like fucking turn it
Which
on.
ones?
I can't remember.
Well, any of them.
One of them had cross eyes.
She was the Pepsi girl at one point. Remember the little girl from the Pepsi
Eisenberg.
She was the Pepsi girl, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse Eisenberg's sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
So
but then the pictures, I think she just kind of looked like a normal woman, but a woman on drugs.
Right.
Yeah. They did this singing video. What song was that, Tiffany?
Oh my God, that was so funny.
And it was Winnie's voice for that sweet little face.
Use your love tonight. I just want to use your love tonight.
Yeah, I don't want to lose your love tonight. Yeah,
it was right. Yeah,
I think that outfield.
It was so funny.
It's so funny. There was another one too. There was, I think, a Fleetwood Mac song. I think there were two songs that she did.
Yes,
and she dubbed her voice over to match the singing. It was the funniest thing. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, wasn't a video used of this woman that was shopping in this thrift store or something?
Yeah, there was. That was the drug addict that people had a YouTube channel or whatever.
She was just wild. woman.
Yeah, that's why there's pictures of Winnie in like a bra just sitting on the ground. It's
yes,
this woman did that. Yes. For the compost commercial.
But I mean, she was just kind of like a normal.
You got a shot of her right eye too.
She was no supermodel, but Lorne should be grateful that such a woman, even on crystal meth or whatever she was on, he should be grateful that she would even, look his way.
Yeah, she was pretty messed up. Yeah, it's funny that the only maybe the first picture or the only picture he saw of you, Tiffany, was a couch camel toe. Was that right?
It wasn't the couch one, but yeah, it was the camel toe.
And the other one, and he finally got to see you. It was a thumbnail on Clobber's stream or something where you're jumping on his ass.
Yeah, it was clearly not just a picture of a woman in aerobics class. It was clearly like a model.
Yeah,
professionally done picture of a model in like a photo shoot. But Lorne sees this woman in like 80s workout aerobics gear, standing on his ass, and he's like, well, so if that's what Debbie looks like, why does everybody go crazy about what Debbie looks like? She looks like a normal woman. She's a model. That is not
right.
Lorne has never seen a woman who looks like that in real life in his life. I don't see what the big deal is. Bullshit, you don't.
It's funny how he sees past the idea that it's on his image laid down as he's arrested at the Sting House. I mean, that would bother me more than wondering what she looks like, right? But the whole totality of the picture, it's just he's just concentrating on you, Tiffany.
Yeah, he just zeroes in on the woman. Just like when he watched back the footage of the Sting, instead of looking at himself and the humiliation and despair that he's in, he zeroed in on Casey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's Lorne's world. We just live in it.
It's crazy.
But going back, one of the things that really bothered me, especially bothers me a lot about this book, is that he seems to be elevating the mac and cheese and all that other bullshit excuse that he initially came out with, because he's come out with different iterations of it, right? Of the reasons for it, the molestation potentially or whatever it is. But he elevates that to the same level as someone who sees combat, sees trauma, sincerely has a very terrible case of PTSD. It's almost like he subconsciously doesn't realize he's making that connection. And it just shows how his mind works. That his excuse for not getting all the stuff that he get, after he gave his siblings some generous gifts or whatever, is equivalent to going to war and watching your best friend get shot.
Well, I was thinking about this, about Lorne's kind of, this theme of not having to take responsibility. It wasn't his fault. And that's the unsophisticated way that Lorne has on psychology, on how the human mind works and things. And it's such an really, like I said, an unsophisticated, stupid, lacking in intelligence way of looking at things, and such a lack of insight. Because if you think about like the book The Silence of the Lambs, right, which is like a psychological thriller, which is what you would say that this is. It's so ingenious and very well thought out, the fact that Clarice Starling didn't even probably consciously know that in order to save the girl, the lambs were going to stop screaming because it's a childhood trauma, and it's like playing, and it's such a clever way, and it was really well done, and there was a bit of research into things. And when the guy wrote the book, he wrote about what was the Buffalo Bill. He was quite a well thought out character. He was based on an old real villain called Ed Gein, I believe. But
right.
It was just a very sophisticated way, and it was really interesting take on the human condition, very dark. And this is obviously the guy that wrote it. He's a fucking great writer. I mean, well, actually, some of his other books sucked a bit, but such a great, sophisticated way of psychoanalysis. No, this isn't. This is simply, a guy's murdered people because he saw people get murdered, so it's okay. It's not his fault. That's it. That's the level of insight that Lorne has, because that's all he can say about his situation. I was messed up at the time. Well, what the fuck does that mean? It was funny, but it was also infuriating for him to consistently come out with that. There's no insight at all about, well, actually, yeah, well, what I really need to do, let's just say somebody with some level of sophistication got into Lorne's position. He'd go, right, okay, I've clearly got an attraction to younger girls. Where does that come from? Fucking hell, I'm asking her to masturbate. I'm clearly sadistic. Blah, 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 blah. None of that. I was messed up at the time. That's it. That's all we fucking get. And the reason that he never wanted to go over the chat log, how could he? I mean, even when he read it, he's just... it's funny to think that he had to read it, but there's no real analysis there, is there? He's not interested. He's not fucking interested at all, is he?
Well, it's delusion in it, because he recognizes it was a messed up thing to do, right? And it was a messed up mindset to do that, but he makes it past tense, was, and at the time. So he makes it a temporary insanity kind of thing, but
and that's
or
why he's
evil,
never healed. He doesn't want to admit that he's still that guy. He even says, I never wanted to be that guy. He still is. There's no change, positive change from anything, is there, at any point?
Some would argue he's gotten worse.
Well, maybe that could be true, but there's one thing I know for certain: he's certainly not got any better. No. In a million years, nothing that I've heard. Certainly. I mean, how could you?
I think the incident with Rhoda shows that he certainly hasn't gotten any better. And if an opportunity is presented to him, he'll still take it, even after all these years. But I don't know if you know this, Andrew, about the chat log reading. He actually started reading the chat log with the Winnie character at one point.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it is worlds different than his reading with Debbie.
In what way?
When he's reading with Debbie, he's crying, he's weeping, I can't believe I did that. He's remorseful because, first of all, he's talking to Debbie and he knows that she disapproves of what he wrote in the chat log, but also that it's being recorded for all of us to listen to and see his redemption. But when he was reading it with Winnie, she was acting very nonchalant about it, and I think it was to get his true feelings. She was even giggling at some parts, but acting like it was no big deal, really. Yeah. And he went right along with it. He was laughing. It's like he wasn't even paying attention to the words he was saying. He was just giggling and laughing along with her, like he was, like we do when we read it.
Well, he saw it all as a big joke initially. I mean, when he first was contacted, he'd like have these web chats and he'd think it was funny and people genuinely liked him, and he'd sing "I Love the First" for a laugh. Like no one that really understood what he'd done, any hint of it, would ever put themselves in that position. It's like how low is this guy gonna stoop? Because he can't see it like we do. He doesn't have that. Is it that he doesn't have that ability, or he doesn't want to? That's the question, really.
He'll just parrot the feelings of whoever he's talking to. So because Winnie was laughing about it, giggling, and acting like it was all kind of silly and no big deal, he went along with it. When he heard through Debbie's tone that there was nothing funny about it, and that it was disgusting and horrible, so he reflected that in his performance. And he cried and wept. But he also had Winnie, they got to the Molly part when he was reading through it with Winnie. And he had the presence of mind to lie, because she nonchalantly said, "Oh, how old was Molly?" I think she knew that she was young and she wanted to get the information out of him. And he said, "Oh, I can't remember, 18, 19, something like that." Yeah. Very convenient that she was just at adulthood when we know she wasn't. So it's just really interesting to hear him read it with the two different women and hear how his attitude and his emotion changes so much.
I wonder if the...
Can you imagine? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a quick question, Tiffany. Do you think there was any part of him that it left an imprint in him when he had to read back that chat log? Do you think there's any part of him that thought, oh, fucking hell, look how shit I am? At all?
I think that he was embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that he distances himself from that because he can look back on that almost as if it's a different person. And that goes along with him believing, I'm not that person anymore. I'm not that guy. You know, that guy who did that was shitty. And also it goes along with what he said one time, that I'm not a bad person. I did a bad thing. So he misses the boat on that because a bad person is going to do that thing. And that's what, in many things that he does, a bad person is going to do those things because it shows a complete disregard for everyone else. And the focus is solely on him and what he wants. So I don't think that he looked at that and was like, wow, I hate myself for doing that. I think there's too much of a separation there from who he believes that he is. And I think he's still looking at that and saying, wow, I must have been really messed up at the time to say that.
You know,
so yeah, I think
funny,
that's really
but it's
what
true.
it is.
well, you won't say it, Tiffany, but he did it to try to seduce you.
He did, and isn't that
How
ridiculous?
did that not work?
Yeah.
Is that how you
That's what
would
I want to know.
Try to
Right.
try
I
to
have
get
no
with
idea.
one of our
to
sexual
these
things in the
horrible
pool.
things.
Yeah,
He,
I mean
I
that
agree.
was his motivation.
He was so embarrassed to read that, but he saw that as his only way forward to get to Debbie, and he wanted her bad. So he was desperate enough to go through the humiliation of reading that just to try to get closer to her. But again, that's remarkable that he thought that would work. That she would say, wow, Lorne, you're a great guy. I'm coming to Maine now. Thank you for telling me the truth about the real children that you groomed. I'm coming up. You can wait.
Yeah.
You know what really turns me on, Lorne? Murder. Tell me about that. Anything in your past?
Well, she
get
does
me
like
going.
a bad boy.
Yes.
Yeah, but you couldn't play the game like that. I mean, it was just, you could tell you were in pain listening to it and having to do it with him, listening to his stupid excuses and having to pause and stop and cry and Emma shut it off and all that shit. You knew that was all just a, you know, and you weren't going to pacify him. You weren't going to say anything that was going to comfort him in any way.
No, it was way too hard to do that.
Yeah. Or go the other direction and be like Winnie and make it flippant and excuse me, and fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, couldn't do that either.
And the thing that pisses me off too is when he's talking about this stuff is he'll say it's sad.
Yeah.
And he's sad for himself. He's sad for himself that he was that guy at that time so messed up. Why did everyone do so many disgusting things to him? And he ended up there and he lost his mind and he ended up talking to a 13-year-old. That's what he thinks is sad. And that's infuriating.
I don't know what he drives for more, love or pity.
I think he equates them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm vulnerable.
It's like how he,
yeah.
Right. It goes along with also his girlfriend is also the one who nurtures him and is taking care of him. Yeah. Just like a mother would, or that he imagines a mother would.
Just like in this book.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he wrote about it.
Every woman in the book is even Helen, the receptionist, with the chain coming down her glasses.
Well,
even his murder victim.
Yeah, well, speaking of
he was
which,
murder victims.
we'll get to this because we've been talking for an hour now without even mentioning much of the book, and I wanted to go over chapter 10 again. So, do you know what? I was reading just before we started, just before I called you up, I was reading the first part of chapter 10 that you can see now. And do you know what? This bit isn't that bad because, hear me out, guys, before you delete me off Skype, permanent delete. He's saying here that Aaron went for a walk in the woods, started to feel a bit weird, and then basically thought that he saw a couple of, what was it? Why am I feeling like this? He saw a couple of enemies, shot them, and then, he thought that they ended up being like two regular dead people, and then it says here, he looked down at the sun. All of a sudden he felt a certain pleasure grow inside of him. So it's like you could imagine someone, if they had PTSD or some kind of really traumatic problem, not necessarily PTSD, and I don't know enough about the intricacies of that condition, but it's not within the realms of impossibility, I don't think, that someone could go out after these traumatic incidents and shoot somebody, and then as a sort of twisted kind of revenge, they feel bloodlust because this kind of happened to them. I think that it's not a stretch, but the problem with the book is it goes away from what's happening here, that he mistakes people for the enemy, and then you see this bit here, it says, "You've killed enough troops, now it's your turn to die." So at this point in it's quite shitty dialogue, but at this point in the book, so Aaron believes that this is the enemy. So it's like he's out in the field, he's trying to kill the people that have subjected him to all these horrific things. Are you following me? It's not that bad.
Yeah, but it would be a little bit better if he added a little more background to it. Like suddenly
dude,
Aaron
of course.
was,
I'm not saying that
bombs
it's well
were flying
written.
everywhere.
I'm not saying it's well written. I'm saying it's almost believable at this point.
Oh, I don't look at it. I'm past figuring out whether it's well written or whether it's even literature. I'm past that. This is just an insight into Lorne.
This is supposed to be a fucking proper review, dude. What did I say from the beginning of this fucking review? I said we've got to try and at least give it the opportunity. No, you're fucking right. We've gone way past there, haven't we?
Seriously, it dropped any literary value after the second sentence.
No, but I'm still trying. What I'm trying to do, it's like I said at the beginning of the stream, it's too easy to pick holes in this piece of shit because it's awful. So I'm at least trying to find something, because the easiest thing in the world is let's go over this and take the person. It's too easy to do. It's like reviewing a child's work and saying, why isn't this the fucking greatest novel ever? No, it's true though, isn't it? So I'm at least trying to say, so at this point, and this goes into tune with what happens later in the book. So now, you've killed enough troops, now it's your turn to die. That's terrible dialogue, right? but and then the man screamed, no! No! Just two O's! Just two!
No.
No! The man screamed. But what I'm trying to say is, come on guys, fucking back me up here, I'm on my own.
Wait. Did he look up at him with pity in his eyes? I just wonder.
No.
Probably.
Just the women did. Just
well,
the women.
Young man.
Just the women. That's exactly
the point. Yeah.
Being a woman, that's exactly the point that I was going to make too. That the woman is going to have this maternal instinct. The woman is going to be more understanding of the emotional side of what Aaron must be going through in order for him to be there digging her grave. But the guys aren't going to, because guys are just like him.
That's a good point. You know how he says female therapists are the only ones worth going to. He'll only talk to a female because they're gentler. He said that about his therapy and his counseling and all that shit before. And I think you're right. He sees men as inherently not as understanding, and all women are going to baby him.
Yeah.
Getting a
I hear an echo.
tiny echo, guys, on the
yeah, I hear it
on the chat. A tiny echo. So I think someone's headphones are up a little bit too loud. Maybe me, so I've just turned them down. So just a quick.
How about anybody else? Can they hear it?
I think it's.
I think it's better now.
Yeah, I think it might have been me.
Is it still? Are we good? Okay.
I did say it might have been me. But of course we're right about the guys, and the differentiation between the women and the men in this book is very apparent to Lorne's personality. But my original point, which nobody likes to fucking agree with me on, is that this bit isn't that. It's almost believable. Whereas when it gets to the end of the chapter,
At what level?
When we get to the end of the chapter, it's pure fantasy land to the point of it's fucking humorous. It's turned into a comedy. You know what I mean? Now it's just a poorly written book. At the end of the chapter, it's a parody. It's fucking hilarious. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can almost believe somebody goes out in the field and does this, if you get what I'm saying.
Sure, it's like having...
Right.
It's almost like a flashback.
Give him some points on the idea. But the way he articulated it is funny.
Yes, of course.
Well,
of course.
He says you've killed enough troops, so he's delusional, thinking this is the enemy. Yeah. And then we fast forward to when he abducts Amber, and he knows she's not the enemy. He knows she's Amber with a little girl who's 20 whatever years old. So there was never any point where we could see it change.
He knows
exactly. That's the point.
He knows he cleans up before he keeps it from his wife. He knows it's wrong. He knows it's, It did
get worse, though, like we said in the last one. So what happened is I believe that he killed these guys. Then he ran the guy off the road, which was kind of a road rage incident. Then
that was a great scene.
Then he's just
I'll
murdering.
Give that one to him.
Then he's just murdering people in cold blood. So at least we've got a gradual turn. But it still doesn't make any sense because he's aware. So he kills someone by accident. Then he kills someone in a kind of road rage incident. Then he ends up turning into a serial killer, which is in effect what he is.
He stalked them. Yeah,
that's true. He did, didn't he?
And then he was premeditated the entire way. He ambushed them. This was not. Something. Suddenly he went to a fugue state, and the first person in front of him killed. He sought out his victims, and looking for their weaknesses and vulnerability. I don't know how he confuses 3 women for Iraqi insurgents. To tell you the truth, I mean, who were smoking cigarettes in a dumpster.
He didn't.
No, that's my point. He was fully aware.
Well, and the thing is that full awareness, kind of like. It's not. It doesn't ease into itself. It just happens. It's like the next page.
Right.
First he's in this weird state where he thinks he's hallucinating, and he acted on it, and oh my god! And then the next page, where am I going to get my next victim? Not where am I going to kill my next Iraqi soldier, or it's like there's no transition.
And here, Aaron picked up the man and hid him in a place where he couldn't be found, covered him with the... That's a very bit of lazy writing, that, isn't it? Putting him in a place where he couldn't be found.
I love
fucking
it.
Cheers, dude. It's quite an important point, that
I don't want
well.
him to go into detail. I don't want him to go into detail.
I'll just write couldn't be found, that'll do. But there's so much detail here, right, on how he fucking got rid of the body. But he got dressed grabbed a large plastic bag, blah 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 blah. So he's going into all this detail, right? But at this point, we don't even know where he is. So the paragraph earlier, he kind of thought he was killing Iraqi soldiers, and now he's fucking purposely disposing of bodies. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing, is that he goes back and forth, because then I think a little bit further down from this, where he goes to his journal, that's where he starts to get confused again. And he's saying, I don't know. I don't remember going for a walk, but Brooke said that I did.
Yeah, in real life, it kind of reflects what's happening in real life. He doesn't want, he didn't want to do that thing with Kayla. He wanted to make sure people realized he wasn't like that and everything else. And then he plans to do something with Rhoda. It's premeditated. The whole bit. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew her age. He knew, how inappropriate it was, given, Rhoda's connection to his ex-girlfriend, or all this other stuff. Everything wrong with it. he just plowed right through it, and that it wasn't messed up in the mind anymore. It's the same thing with this Aaron character. Kill somebody by accident. Oh shit, I kind of like that. I'm gonna do it to somebody on purpose now.
So
It's not the way it worked. He was always the same way.
He was talking about how he couldn't remember going for the walk. He couldn't remember. He just kind of blacked out for that whole period. But he had a dead body in the trunk of the car,
Right.
and he didn't wonder, how did this get here?
Exactly.
I mean, what would you do if you suddenly came to?
Go to the police station.
Exactly. That's what most people, they would be freaking out. They'd be like, what the fuck? There's a dead body in my, and you truly couldn't remember how it got there or putting it there yourself. I would call the police.
Yeah, immediately you'd think, oh my God, who's nicked my car? Or something, wouldn't you? You'd have no reservations about immediately calling the police, would you? Of course. And if you read this bit here, so he basically disposes of the body, put the baby. Hang on a minute. After his show was over, so he came in and just started watching TV. It's a bit fucking weird. Put the baby to bed, then had a bad nightmare, a horrible one. She had been awakened by his body. So what fucking difference does it make? He's just killed somebody. A fucking nightmare is kind of irrelevant at this point as far as the story goes. We already know he was messed up at the time.
Well, we should be feeling bad for him because he's suffering from nightmares.
Yeah, and he's got a
Right.
baby. This is sociopathic. That's what this is.
And it's affecting his wife. It woke her up. Let's forget about the victim that was just in the trunk of his car and the people he's stalking and killing. We should feel bad for poor Brooke because Aaron woke her up.
He's a really shitty murderer too. He should have been caught a long time ago. It's just, I don't know where these people are. We talked about this. It seems like he's only walking 100 yards outside his house and into the woods.
There's a lot of
Running into all
conveniences.
Yeah,
isn't
and the
there?
police don't. Right, you think these people are hunting
Missing.
in the woods. Somebody's got to, and they're missing. Right, somebody's got to know exactly where they had been, so the police would come, looking around, trying to figure out what's going on. But no, he just saw them on the news. There's a couple of missing guys. Those guys look familiar. I wonder why.
I hope in
can't
real life
remember.
we don't get a real copycat killer and start finding graves with flags sticking out
Oh,
of it.
Jesus. Don't even fucking go there, dude. She slowly reached her hand across the bed, blah, 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 blah. Aaron, she let out gently. Aaron let blah, 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 blah. So, after getting in the shower, why can't I
Amazing.
remember? Hang on a minute. Why can't I remember what? What's he trying to remember?
Maybe what he did earlier that day.
Yeah, but how did he know
and how
he did
had a
something?
dead body in his car.
Why can't I
I think it's
remember
funny
killing
the way-
those
How was your
people?
walk? Well, Brooke said, how was your
but he
walk?
does-
And he
he
lied
prepares for
and
it.
said it was great. Instead of saying, what do you mean, my walk? I didn't go for a walk. He
Yeah.
was aware enough to lie and say, oh, it was refreshing. It was a nice walk. If you don't remember, then why would you say
He
that? I would
was.
say, what are you talking about? I didn't go for a walk.
He was aware enough to bring a thermos of coffee with him on his murder spree.
Sorry.
Morning finally appeared. Aaron sat up in bed. He wanted to be. Hang on. He wanted to so much to be the man. This kind of made me ears prick up a little bit.
Wait, say that again. Where is that?
He
Where's
wanted
that?
so much.
That-
Can you see the screen, dude?
Yeah, I can, but
Yeah, he wanted so much to be the man
What?
she fell in love with, but knew that man was no longer anywhere to be found. So that's kind of like another indication of what Lorne's getting at here, isn't it? This has changed him irreparably, hasn't it? Like he's no longer.
he said the same thing in the chat log. He said to Kayla, "I'll try to be the man you need me to be." He said the same thing in the chat log. Except for
Sounds like something from a stupid country song that he has no idea what it means. He just thinks it sounds good. I truly
It's the
think
shit.
that's
It's
what
the
he
shit
means.
that he says all the time, though. He always wants to go back to who he was. I want to be the man that you fell in love with. I don't know who's falling in love, but it's all of that stuff. I want to get back to how we used to be because, when you're in a relationship with Winnie, it's going to be the most stable and healthy relationship you've ever had in your life. Yeah.
He felt an emptiness grow inside him, and he longed for the man he used to be.
Why does he keep saying that?
I know, dude. He stood up from bed and made his way to the kitchen when the automatic coffee pot was in the on position, was finishing up brewing the first fresh of... How many fucking times does coffee get mentioned in this book?
Hey, he's got to write what he knows about, bro.
Yeah.
Chicken pie, coffee, fucking hell, dude. After pouring himself a cup, he has to say the word coffee so many times. How many? I'm going to count how many times the word coffee is said in this one paragraph. 1, 2. That's 2 in one sentence. 2 in one line. 3. That it. 4.
He's nothing if not
5.
That's ridiculous.
5 fucking times in one fucking small paragraph. Fucking hell, dude. Aaron sat at the kitchen table with a pen in hand, a brand new notebook, brand new, in front of him, and his second cup of coffee. He thought for a minute while he sipped on his coffee. There we go. Fucking hell, dude. About
We really care.
There's
how
no
many-
variation in
how
his
caffeinated
fucking
it
words, has he? Aaron's journal. Oh, that'd be a fucking bestseller, that, wouldn't it? Since it had been bothering him that he couldn't remember what he had done, that he was trying to remember, he figured out. Should we read from? Oh, hang on. Don't we get like a paragraph from Aaron's journal? Is this it?
Is there?
I'm sure there
I
is.
think that we do.
He left a note on the table
It
where Pop
bothered
could have
him.
easily see it, then grabbed his hunting knife and here we are. And started out to the shed for a shovel. He noticed a little...
Oh, here we go.
Excuse me. He noticed a little American flag hanging from the wall. Blah, 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 blah. He also grabbed a... And since when did this little murderous memento thing, this serial killer kind of... What did they call it?
His memory's back.
I don't know, but I remember when he went to his lover Paul's grave, he put little American flags next to his gravestone. So maybe that's...
I
Just
was just
didn't
going to
add
ask
that up.
about Paul. We haven't heard about Paul in many
just
chapters,
thinking
and he
that.
was supposed to be a very important character, a very important part of what happened to Aaron. And
I think
I
the-
guess he
the last
kind
time
of
we saw-
forgot about him. I thought he
Well,
loved
the last
him.
time we saw him was when he hallucinated him on a street corner or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
What
yeah,
was
it was like-
panhandling or something.
Do you know what I think the reason why we don't get to hear from Paul again is because, according to Lorne, he's already served his purpose in the story. It was just a way of justifying that he was
Another
messed up
guy.
at the time. So he died, he saw it happen, now he's turned into a prick. The thing is, really, if it was a proper story, Paul and what happened would be mentioned throughout because it would be a factor in his life. Like, he'd grieve for him, he'd see things that would memorize. There would be a continuing.
He'd be in his
theme.
dream,
Yeah,
possibly.
exactly. Yeah, about fucking kissing him or whatever they fucking used to do with each other. What was that thing that they did? It was a bit fucking gay. What was it? They used to sleep. He
He's-
slept in his
he's-
bed.
I still can't believe
Dead.
he slept in his bed.
That's right.
That is hilarious.
And the sleepyhead got to sleep in too.
Yeah, but
Lazy bones.
yeah, but
Yeah, didn't he call him Lazy Bones?
Oh,
Lazy bones.
that's the
yeah.
thing they had together. Them two, you know what I mean?
Paul was kind of his mommy
Oh,
too.
gosh. Yeah,
That's true. Yeah, he got
I'm
fucking mothered by Paul as well,
Or his
didn't he?
daddy.
he did.
I just can't get that image out of my head with those kids exploding in front of him. I mean, my God, nothing else. There's no collateral damage. Just the kids exploded in front of him.
Just three of
So,
them. They're playing ball.
Yeah, it's weird. Just weird.
So he couldn't remember walking this morning. Aaron quickly gobbled up his food in his plate and got his cup of coffee and went to write in his journal. He could hear Brooke. He began moving his
I
pen
love his
like he was
dialogue.
writing
I love his
something.
dialogue. I'll give you that, Andrew. I love his dialogue.
Which bit? It's all good. He began moving his pen like he was writing something, but the pen never touched the paper. He stopped moving his pen and rested his forehead on his hand to gather his thoughts. The fact he couldn't remember taking a walk bothered him more and more. He wasn't sure how to handle it. He took a deep sigh, lifted his head from his hands and began writing. Here we are. I'm lost right now, and at a point that is making me wonder if I am safe to be around my wife and child or not. What? Though I have not done anything to harm anyone that I am aware of, it scares me to think that's a possibility. Now, isn't that interesting? So, it's like Lorne's kind of narrative, isn't it? I haven't done anything to harm anyone that I'm aware of. In other words, I'm not doing it on purpose, but I don't like it that that's happened. You know what I mean?
My victims were decoys.
Yeah. My wife asked me, my wife? Why would he write my wife?
Right, instead of saying Brooke.
Yeah.
He's talking to himself here.
Yeah. My wife asked me. It's like he's writing to the police.
Right.
Well, he says that a lot to his catfish. You know, he always emphasizes the relationship. My fiance, my woman, my wife. You know.
Did I take
he does
him out
that a
this
lot.
morning? If I did, then where did I walk to, and why can't I remember it? I long to be back to my normal self and not be experiencing this, but it's what's happening to me, and I'm trying to deal with it the best way I can. I love my wife and son very much.
By doing what?
Huh?
How's he dealing with it? He's trying to deal with it the best way he can. By what?
He's writing in his journal. What more do you want?
Well, he says he questions whether or not he's safe to be around his wife and baby. So your journal's going to fix it? Go to a doctor.
No, but
yeah, I know.
No.
Tell
you
someone.
check yourself into a hospital because you're like a danger to yourself or others. What's that called? Do that.
Yeah.
I love it how Amanda James hates Aaron as much as she hates Lorne. I find that quite amusing.
Well, he
Aaron
hates Lorne.
hates
That's
Lorne.
why.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's more reasons to hate Aaron, to tell you the truth.
Really?
But
well, that's a
he
bold
does kill
statement,
people.
that dude.
That is
he's a
huge
killer. He's a murderer. Yes, of
Right.
course.
He does kill people.
Yeah, but he's also fictional.
But
Sort of.
But that's the best character that Lorne could come up with.
Yeah, he's Lorne's creation, so I hate him.
What about Trevor? Do you hate him as well?
Let me emphasize
Trevor?
one more time that
Trevor Michael.
his question and answer.
Yeah, I hate Trevor too.
He used no references outside himself. He actually said that when he wrote this. He didn't do any research. He did talk to someone briefly, I guess, about war in Iraq and things like that. But this is all him. So, certainly didn't do any research about
that was now
psychology.
Becoming cold. Trevor giggled and drooled when Aaron began tickling under his chin and being playful with his son. That doesn't make any sense, that sentence. Aaron and Brooke both cherished moments like this when they all felt there was nothing wrong in their lives. Brooke opened the junk drawer. Blah, 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 fuck off. I'll have to do a few things. Why would Daddy leave so abruptly like that when we were having such fun? Brooke asked towards Trevor.
I love that part.
This is a great
That's
bit.
That's really annoying.
And last week, Tiffany said, "Why are you asking your baby? Why aren't you asking your husband?"
Yeah, that's annoying too, and I think that also plays into Lorne's view of relationships. Like, he doesn't want questions asked of him. He'll say that he wants to be completely open and honest and all of that, but that's on his terms. So if he's doing something sketchy or whatever, he doesn't want to be asked about it. He doesn't want to be followed on Google Earth. He doesn't want you, going too deep and trying to dig out details and stuff like that. So I think he would believe that a woman is going to be 100% supportive of him, but is also not really going to push him or press it, as he likes to say. Don't press it on.
Mm-hmm. Don't put me on the spot.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's kind of like his mother. Like, he sees her as being always supportive, but when when he was forced to call her up and say, "I drove drunk," she kind of bitched at him for a few minutes, and then she's like, "Well, I don't want to talk about that no more." And she was just done. She didn't keep questioning him. She didn't keep going through it with him. She just wanted to get off the phone with him because she knows he's a loser and an asshole, and I'm sure she's just done with it. What could she say to him that hasn't been said 100 times before? And she's old now. She's just like, I don't give a fuck. If you get arrested, then, you know, this is what's going to happen and blah, blah, blah. But she doesn't press it on, as he says. And I think it's just because she knows she's not going to get anywhere. But he'll deflect and turn it around on her, like we've seen him do before.
Well, do you remember the call when she wanted her car back?
Mm-hmm.
She was saying something like, "You got to get a job," whatever. I don't remember what it was. And he was saying, "Maud, look at my life right now.
Yeah.
I don't need this right now."
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
When he says things like that, it makes me feel good.
Well, you know what's funny? He said, "I'm not worried about it." And she said, "You should be worried." And he said, "Well, I am worried, Mom." You just said you weren't. What are you talking about?
But don't talk about it with me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly it.
Luke, a slight chunky.
Yeah, we love that.
So what else about this godforsaken chapter you want to talk
Well,
about?
we're not even halfway, and we're just glancing through it. So this is the bit when he runs the guy off the road. So Aaron began to grow angry at the man, like he'd done something to offend Aaron. That's all that we get about why he kind of turned. Aaron began to grow angry at the man, like he'd done something to him. He watched the man as he unloaded his groceries into the car. So he's just basically, it's not even a road rage incident, really, is it? Hang on. When the man was finished, he got in his car and began to drive off. Aaron started his car and followed the man as he pulled out the grocery store. He decided to stay for a couple of cars behind. He remained about 50 behind, blah, 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 blah. Aaron stepped on the accelerator. So there was no reason other than he looked at him and began to get angry and then thought he'd kill him. And that's it.
Yeah. That's it.
Right.
I'm glad we've cleared that up.
But and it's so
Please
convenient
no.
that in order to get home, that guy had to go on some back desolate road.
Right. Yeah, it's convenient. And there was nobody around.
Yeah.
Right.
Day.
We can at least allow him a bit of, convenience as far as the story goes. It's just fucking. Aaron returned home and was able to get into the bedroom without Brooke seeing him. He got another shirt out of the dresser. He lit. Oh, what? Same one as he lit on fire. So he knows what he's doing at this point.
Yeah. Man, is this the guy he threw in the trunk?
Yeah, it says it here.
Yes.
What's the purpose of that? Why did you just leave him there?
Because he wanted to bury him.
Everywhere, including.
He wanted to bury him. So all of the murders happened in this chapter.
Yeah.
The one so far, anyway. All three
Is
of them
that right?
happened here. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, just one after another. That's like the whole chapter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Aaron replied with all innocence. That's what? He made his way back to the car. What was it? What's this? I don't know. I'll wash it in the morning. That night after supper, Aaron sat down. Oh, right, okay. Is everything all right? It's like I've seen these two men. So at this point, he's watching the news, and he sees the faces, and something happens to him. It took him a long time to get to sleep. He finally, excuse me. He finally fell asleep around 2:30. He moved Brooke's arm after being. They're always cuddling in bed, aren't they? Fuck off. As the warm water covered his blah 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 blah. Town was quiet. Aaron could find his next victim without. Now this is weird, isn't it? So he's now purposely hunting people. The town was quiet and almost empty, so Aaron knew he could find his next victim without anyone else knowing anything. So all of a sudden, he's turned into a serial killer, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think he'd be like a commando on a mission or something. At least turn into that.
This is the best bit. So after 10 minutes of kneeling behind... What? 10 minutes of kneeling behind the big dumpster, the ladies finally extinguished their cigarettes and parted away. Once the rear entrance, Aaron stepped out, blah, 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 blah. And then, right, so he's got his knife on him at this point. Do exactly as I say or I'll kill you, Aaron ordered sternly. He felt the young lady's body begin to shake. Walk this way along to my car. The young lady did as you. Once they're inside, he opened the trunk. Blah 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 blah. So he tied her up, stuck her in the trunk.
It's interesting. He chose the young lady, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
I mean, he didn't specify the age of the other women, I guess.
Let's just fucking be very thankful that the lady in the story isn't 13. He watched the lady as she cried and stopped kicking. Blah 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 blah. She saw Aaron's face for the first time. The look he held was one of hate and death. It scared her. I'm not fucking surprised. And she began to cry. Well, it scared her. Is that all we get? It's no fucking shit, fucking storyteller. So you're telling me that someone's scared because they've just been fucking kidnapped and tied up and thrown in a fucking trunk?
What's a look of death anyway? What does that mean? How do you?
We get that a lot.
Death on your face. A look of death.
We get a look of evil too.
That.
Someone said, I believe in one of the comments one week, I think it was someone with some kind of army experience or something, said you can have like a look of evil. I think I kind of get what you're saying, really. Your face can almost look demonic, like the way you hold your face, like the colour can go, you can like really glaring eyes. But it is too vague, isn't it? Like, you can't just say the look he held was one of hate and death. It's lazy writing, isn't it?
Yeah, you talk about the specifics, like his eyes were burning or something.
Yeah. And like, you'd say something like
gritting his teeth.
Yeah, like the young lady looked into Aaron's eyes. She saw something she'd never seen, like a soulless glare, like almost looking into like a soulless creature. Looking into the eyes of a great white, but no, a look of hate and death. Aaron ignored her. What are you going to do to me? Blah, blah, blah. She stuck one flag into the ground at the head of a fresh grave. She realised what the fresh dirt was and began to cry hard as she frantically pushed backwards. No, that's not wise thing to do. So this is what got me right. Not only is he turned into a serial killer, he's also become sadistic and he's
BTK. Bind, torture, and kill.
Yeah, because it's like he's almost mocking her at this point. No, that's not a wise thing to do to try and escape. That will only make me mad and I might have to knock you out. It's like taunting her. Please, what are you going to do to me? No, please don't kill me, she begged of Aaron. But she was talking to the air. Aaron had completely blocked out any play she made as she continued to dig. Okay, so he's kind of out of it with no emotional attachment at this point. Aaron got the grave halfway dug when he decided to stop and take a break. He sat down beside the crying lady and to her surprise he began talking to her like he wanted to get to know her. What is your name? Amber, she answered in a wavered voice. Well, she's not just going to say, it's Amber, as now that you happen to ask. Well, Amber, my name is Aaron. Why are you doing this, Aaron? Aaron just sat there and ignored her question. How old are you, Amber? I'm 22. Do you live around here? I'm not sure where, here, blah, 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 blah. Hang on, that's true. I'm not sure where here is because you didn't take off the blindfold until we got here in the woods, Amber replied as her voice began to calm, thinking that Aaron might let her go if she answered the questions. Do you plan on killing me?
I get the feeling that if this was a male victim, he would have killed him right away. He's just toying with her because she's a female.
It is interesting how this has happened, and it happens to be a woman. Could it be that? Because generally, if you were a male serial, men don't have the same relationships on a confrontational level as they do with women. So women are generally not as physically strong as males. So I'm trying to fucking say it in a non-sexist way here, but you get what I'm saying, don't you? If someone's going to carry a sympathy with a guy, it's going to be a young mother, isn't it? Oh, it's going to be a child, actually, but we're talking in the adult world. So maybe that's why. It doesn't necessarily mean that we don't want to read into it too much. And it's interesting that I only think that Lorne gave her this daughter to try and build up a bit more emotion. And it did kind of work at one point, because when she was trying to scramble away, I was like, is she going to get away or not? It was the only time in the book I actually wanted to know what happened next. I've killed 2 people already, and I'm about to kill you. I can't stop myself from killing. He's not... What do you mean? He's not fucking tried. And I don't know why.
I won't start now.
Yeah. I don't want to kill, but I can't stop myself. I never even meant to do it. Look at that, isn't brilliant? I don't want to do it.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
and again, I can't help the way he treats the women and the men differently. And you know, I don't want to jump ahead, but the way he reveres her more too. I mean, I know it was a little more of a difficult kill for him, because she ran away and then stupidly enough came back. But there's I don't know, there's some kind of something I'm seeing here, maybe some demarcation between men and women. It's like when Tiffany said, would you have talked to a 13-year-old boy?
No, but
why not? 'Cause he's a boy.
No, but we know why, dude. It's not a mystery, is it? We know why he looks at women differently on a number of levels.
I get that. But then he goes and said, you know, he treats her the worst, too, out of all the victims. He psychologically tortures her.
He digs a fucking grave in front of her. That's the worst bit.
Right, while she watches him do it.
Yeah.
He's got to rest while
this is funny. Have you seen a doctor about it?
Questions. He never asked the men, that his male victims, their names and whether they have children and if they're married and where they're from. And all that other bullshit.
Right.
So she's got to sit there and wonder, can I get myself out of this? And he kills the men immediately, but chooses to have a conversation with her.
In his own twisted way, he thinks this is redeeming himself to the audience. Like how can you accept the author writing that this victim looked at him with pity?
Hey, stop jumping ahead, you. We haven't got to that bit yet.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She looked at him with pity because he said, I don't want to kill, but I just can't help it. Oh, poor Aaron. He can't control himself. He goes around killing people.
Me. Have you seen a doctor about it? Like, she just randomly asked the guy, have you thought about seeing a doctor about the murdering thing? Because I can't help but wonder, maybe you could not kill me.
I'm surprised she didn't offer to make the appointment for him. Well, don't you worry. Yeah. I'll call on Monday.
I've just got my cell phone here, and I know a great doctor.
And you're forgetting the key line. Yes, I went to see a psychiatrist for a while for intense therapy, but stop, he answered. And then she writes, well, why did you stop? It shouldn't be, why did you stop? The next question should have been, what the fuck is intense therapy?
No, but what a bizarre conversation. This is a girl who's watching him dig her grave. Have you seen a doctor about it? Yes, I went to a psychiatrist for a while for intense therapy, but stops. And maybe she said, well, no fucking shit, you stop, Sherlock.
And she's genuinely curious. She's watching him dig her grave. But she's truly curious and concerned about his mental health, not for her own sake, for her own survival.
Yeah. Instead of wasting her time by talking about her children and how they need her and they can't be, and she's a single mother and, nobody will take care of them, things like, no, what's going on with you? Let's talk about you.
Feeling pity for her daughter, whose mother is about to be murdered and have to grow up her entire life without a mom. She's feeling pity for Aaron because he just can't stop killing.
This could be one of the greatest paragraphs written ever in human history, because I Thought I was cured from all the bad dreams I'd been having and was sure I'd be alright. Unfortunately, I love that, I'd been feeling the urge to kill. It is rather unfortunate, isn't it? I had started killing just deer until I killed that man in the first grave. So he's going into detail about his previous... You better pray she doesn't get away at this point, dude. Then I killed this man in the second grave yesterday. Now I have you. Aaron sighed as he looked into the woman's fear-filled eyes that were also mixed with pity for Aaron. Oh,
Poor Aaron.
Poor
Aaron. Oh,
God.
Poor
Are
thing.
you enraged again, Tiffany? You've been rather quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
Poor Aaron.
Do you feel sorry for Aaron?
Poor Aaron. No.
Why?
Why would I?
Oh, good,
But he's
good
feeling
point.
the urge to kill, and you have to give in to every urge. You
Yeah.
don't have to. You can't feel the urge to smoke. You feel the urge to show your dick to little kids. You just have to do it. You control yourself.
He
It's not
can't
his fault.
stop. Did you not read what he wrote? Give him a break.
He can't stop.
Gee whiz.
What does that even mean? First, it was he was in a delusion. I mean, I know we've said this, but he was in like a delusional state, and he thought the enemy. He was killing the enemy like he did at war, which is expected. But now all of a sudden, he just feels the urge to kill everyone: women, men, deer.
He's just suddenly turned into a mad dog.
Oh, it's so funny. I was in Iraq and killed many enemies. Hang on a minute. We didn't
He
really...
misspelled pity.
Sorry?
I said he misspelled pity. And that's
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said last time, that's the least of this fucking book's problems. But, or even that line's problems. But it also happens to be quite ironic that he misspelled the word that is probably the worst fucking word written in this book. But he said, it says here, he killed many enemies. He just assumes everybody that goes over there sees people get blown up and fucking shoots people left, right, and centre, and there's explosions everywhere.
Well, look at this. Look at this, Andrew. It says, I was in Iraq and killed many enemies over there, but these two men were innocent just like you are. But for some reason, I had to kill them, thinking they were the enemy.
That's weird.
He doesn't think Amber is the enemy, so why does he have to kill her?
That is a good
He
point,
very
and I missed
clearly
that for
sees
the
that
first
He's
time.
cured.
I did too. It doesn't make
And
sense.
he didn't think the guy from the grocery store was his enemy either.
No, he thought he
there
was
was
slightly chunky.
No, he just
Yeah.
was mean-mugging him, that's all.
Right, it pissed him off.
Let's just say that he did. This means, like Shin just said, now he's cured. He's now fully aware of what he's doing. If you've got this kind of self-reflection and you're able to go, I was thinking that they were the enemy, but now you're in a position where you know that they're not, but yet you're still killing people. And he's having this polite conversation. Do you have kids, Aaron? Aaron's head fell down towards the ground. When he lifted it back up, Aaron could see that she hit a soft spot in Aaron when the tears rolled down his cheeks. So he's crying at this point. He's aware that she's not the enemy. Yes, I have a son. Tell me about him. Amber asked as she gathered her thoughts in her head to rub in the material. I like this bit though. At least he's not that deluded Lorne where he realises, because I'm surprised he hasn't wrote. Amber was trying to undo her tie so that she could give Aaron a big hug. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then just before she gets her throat slit.
Yeah,
absolutely.
but at least she's trying to escape at this point. Aaron, Luke.
Or she just resigned to her fate. Go ahead and kill me. I know you feel the urge.
Exactly. I'm your sacrificial lamb. Go ahead.
Right.
But she would have been better off touching on his mother. That might have done it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Did
you have a mother, Aaron? I do, actually. Wouldn't life be shit without mothers or whatever fucking shite he came out with?
That's the shit we should be going over, Andrew.
That was fucking great. Listen, what we'll do?
The banter.
No,
banter
dude.
is wonderful.
When we finish, we'll do we'll do a stream on our favourite moments from the book, and so let's not go too far back. I just wanted to go over this chapter again because I thought it was quite significant. But significant. A fucking novel written by Lorne Armstrong. Yeah, this is fucking very significant. She had gained Aaron's trust from that moment on. Hang on a minute. Aaron looked at Amber and could see the curse she held in. Oh, fuck you, dude. Fucking. Fuck off. So now,
Andrew gets it.
Not only is she fucking pitying him, Aaron's starting to see it in her. Aaron could see that a murder victim cared about him. Oh, fuck you. She had gained Aaron's trust from that moment on, and Aaron began a long story about Trevor from the time he was born. Have you noticed every time there's a long story that needs explaining, Lorne just says, told her a long story. Well, what?
She gained his trust by asking if he had a child. Then he trusts her. This is his murder victim. He's digging her grave. Did he not think maybe she was trying to distract him? Tell me all about your son while I try to get my hands untied, like in every single movie that has ever existed where a person is bound and held against their will. But Aaron trusted her because the look in her eyes told him that she cared about him. I'm surprised they didn't become best friends, or he didn't have her come meet his mom or something.
It's so funny.
Well, he did kiss her.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to
Oh,
that
that's right. I forgot.
He also told Amber about Brooke and how much in love they both are, but Amber wondered if that trust she had gained would be enough to save her life if she continued to saw slowly at her bindings. Aaron finally finished the story. It's like, oh, fuck for that. I finally finished the story and told Amber he'd got to get back to work digging. What? Oh, enough of that. I need to finish digging your grave. How would you like it? I'll put a blanket in for your comfort. Amber looked at Aaron.
A little deeper? Okay.
Yeah. Got up, was like turned off a switch that can put what?
You gotta go, but you understand. I have to go back to digging, right? You understand?
Yeah. Sorry about this. Amber looked at Aaron while he got up, and it was like someone had turned a switch on and off to make the completely different change. What? I don't get that. What the fuck does that mean? Amber looked at Aaron when he got up, and it was like someone had turned a switch on and off to make the completely different change in Aaron. That's so poorly fucking worded. She saw the look of hatred and death return, so it had gone away and now it's come back. Okay. As Aaron continued, Amber was able to finally get her hands free, but she left them behind her back so Aaron wouldn't know. Smart. She looked over at where the plastic lay and saw the knife on the ground. She then looked back at Aaron to make sure his attention was still on digging the grave. He was not only still digging, he was also standing with his back to Amber, like you would do. Amber took the chance to look around, found a piece of thick branch around 2 inches thick, laying on the feet. She slowly got to her feet, blah, 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 blah. For a moment,
are her hands tied behind her back? I don't remember.
No, she's managed to get them free, but she's leaving the hands behind her back. So I thought this was quite tense. I was like, oh, what's going to happen here? The only time in the book I was actually, because you actually like feel sorry for this character being part of this book. So you're thinking, I hope she gets away. About 2 more steps, and she'd have the knife. All of a sudden, a branch snapped under Amber's feet, and Aaron's head quickly snapped up in her direction. Amber quickly reached for the knife and stick. Just as Aaron got close enough to her, Amber was able to stand up and swing the stick hard enough to knock Aaron off his feet when the stick connected with his head. Aaron lay there dazed and confused. He had put his hand to her head and felt the wetness, oh, there we go again, in his hair from the blood. Right, so he's fucked at this point, surely.
How's he going to explain this to Brooke?
Amber we'll get onto that next week. Aaron clutched the right the stick tight in her hand and swung for a second time, connecting once again with Aaron's skull. The second blow knocked Aaron out cold. After checking Aaron's pulse to see if he was still alive, Amber took off running through the woods with the knife clutched tightly in her hands. Hang on a minute. Now,
Who would check his pulse, man? Who the fuck would check his pulse?
yeah, and why would you check his pulse, realise he's still alive, then carry on running anyway? What was the fucking point of that?
Yeah.
Might kill him or something. Well, she cares about him. She wants to make sure he's not
that's
dead,
right.
knocked out. She just wants to escape. She doesn't want to kill him. He's got a child at home.
She had no idea
She
where.
wants to let him live another
parked.
day to kill more women.
She stopped, leaning against a tree. She was frantic, needed to calm herself down, but she knew her Aaron wouldn't stay knocked out for long. Well, oh Jesus! I mean, you know,
Well,
people
go do it again. Hit him again.
Yeah, but I will give Lorne something that, like, females in distress in horror movies end up acting very stupidly, don't they? But usually in, like, Halloween type films. After taking a few deep breaths, blah blah blah. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Amber, I'm gonna kill you. That's funny. Amber frozen, could feel her muscles tense up. There's no way out of here, Amber. It's all woods for miles and miles. How did they get? Which way you? She whispered her thoughts. At least I know which way to a road. She whispered her thoughts. The road seemed too far ahead. About 15 minutes later, Aaron's scream had ceased, and that's when Amber began to grow frightened. What the fuck is going on here now?
He's screaming. Wait a minute. He got up and started screaming for her? Is that what he did?
I don't know.
Since the light she gone. Aaron screams. Wait a minute. About 15 minutes later, Aaron's screams had ceased, and must be that's great editing again.
So
when
she
Amber
only
began
got
to grow frightened.
So she only got frightened when he stopped screaming. That's a bit weird. When she heard his threatening fucking hell, the fuck screams without his screaming, she had no way to know of his location. On the plus side, she could tell that daylight had started to. What a bizarre thing! So he's screaming his head off, but yet when he stopped screaming, she starts shitting it. That's what she needed, at least without the daylight. Amber continued on her path. Her heartbeats became more rapid. Blah, blah, she frantically looked around. Blah, blah, blah. Fucking hell, it's getting boring now. After 5 minutes of waiting, she relaxed as a raccoon appeared. She felt
Of course.
better.
Critters just come out of nowhere.
There's no way she could know that Aaron was waiting for her to move behind the roots. But this is just silly now. Amber turned as she heard the slight noise come from the direction of the pine tree. Frightened to the sight of Aaron, Aaron struggled to fall back down. Amber took the time to get close to Aaron to see if she had killed him. She focused her eyes on Aaron, slowly approached. She couldn't tell if he was breathing, so she moved her hand towards his mouth. Aaron quickly and unexpectedly reached and grabbed Amber to the ground. Amber screamed, but to no avail. Aaron had her arm pinled and gripped tightly around her throat, so she strangled her to death. That's right, yeah. Amber struggled with her free hand to try. She began to panic, blah, 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 blah. The lack of oxygen. Right, so he went on top of her, strangled her to death, and then he decided was a good kill, an enemy to be respected. He decided he put 2 flags on Amber's grave. One at the flag. It's just bizarre, isn't it? You know, so this disconnect between her being the enemy and not the enemy. Once Aaron regained his breath, he looked down at his bloodied shirt, blah, blah, blah. Aaron was hurt, but his determination to finish his task meant more to him than tending to his wound. He grabbed the knife from Amber's stiffening fingers. Fucking rigor mortis is setting in pretty quickly, isn't it? Okay, blah, blah, blah. When Aaron's finished, where's the bit? Right. Before wrapping Aaron's body in the black plastic, he bent over and gave Amber a kiss on her cold lips. What is all that about? Aaron found that Amber was a special person and he wished he had known. What?
Yeah. This is painful. I like. By the way, the paragraph before that where he says, then gracefully threw Amber's dead body over his shoulder. What the fuck does that mean?
Do you know why I think he's put that in? Aaron found that Amber was a special person, and wished he could have known it. I think that is a way of Lorne trying, even still at this point, to write Aaron as a pitiable character. He's still human. He still cares about people. He still cares about the woman he murdered, so that you look upon Aaron with some kind of affection. Do you follow me?
Yeah, of course. He still wants you to like you, even though you kill him.
Yeah,
he kills you.
Yeah.
And her family's going to love him too. They're going to feel sorry for him. And her memorial service or funeral will be a speech about how wonderful and pitiful Aaron is.
Well, he even said here, said a silent prayer that she would go to heaven before covering the corpse with the dirt. Isn't that funny? He said
Just
a
like a
silent
child.
prayer that she would go to heaven before covering the corpse that he murdered with dirt.
So he's religious and he believes in God. So that's another reason to like him. In Lorne's view.
Yeah. So yeah, there we have it.
That will hold until I get home. Is that the end of the chapter?
Yeah, that's it.
So he's bringing her body home?
When Aaron he returned to his car. Oh, so he buried her.
Did Trevor play with it?
He buried her in the grave.
No, his wound. He got hurt. So he tended to his wound the best that he could. And, it wasn't perfect. But
okay. I thought he wrapping her up.
Where was the wound again? Was it on his ribs?
I think so. Yeah, it was in his ribs.
What about the gash on his head?
Yeah, he got knocked unconscious with a stick.
Yeah.
Is Brooke not going to see these injuries?
No,
I wonder what happened to Daddy.
Exactly.
You guys ever been knocked out before?
No.
Well, it's not something that you easily just have your wits about you when you wake up.
I was thinking that.
But to be fair,
kill someone.
in movies, that kind of happens a lot, especially when there's chases. People get knocked out, and 20 seconds later they're running around again, aren't they? So you can allow him a little bit of the silliness and unbelievability of the Hollywood
suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. But I'd say in novels it's not quite as Hollywood-esque as it always tries to be a bit more, but obviously this guy doesn't have any experience in writing. But yeah, that was still painful to go through, but interesting all the same. Any thoughts, guys, before we wrap it up? Like he wrapped the body up?
No.
No, it's like a child who wrote it. That's what it seems like.
I can't believe we went through it twice. It was awful.
Sorry.
No, well, it's not your fault. Lawrence is a shitty writer.
It's also boring for something that's supposed to be suspenseful and exciting and gruesome. Even it's just boring.
Yeah, because there's a lot that's gone on. Really, you've had 3 lots of murders. Well, that's it, really, isn't there? I mean, there's nothing that goes on between the characters, is there? So there's no dynamics in the characters. There's no really interesting relationships. The only thing that's going on is these dull characters exist, and this guy started killing people. This book sucks.
It sucks. There's so much more he could have done. Like, Brooke could be getting suspicious. The police could have come knocking on his door asking questions. But nothing. He wrote in his journal. He drank a ton of coffee.
And milk.
And then he went and milk. Right.
Doesn't drink. Doesn't smoke. We already talked about that. But you know what? After this chapter, I just gotta look at this cover again and say, "This is the guy who wrote it," and it explains everything.
Yeah.
It does.
This is the guy who wrote that Aaron
That is
stopped
such a
at the
wonderful
convenience store to get a cup of coffee and a candy bar with a murder victim kicking in the trunk of his car. That's an important
right. I
bit to
forgot
add.
about that one. A kidnap victim at that point. She was alive.
Right.
Rathman
But
has
his
just
intended murder victim.
said something quite apt. It's written as a synopsis and not a novel. It's true, isn't it? There's no real. It's like a story draft, like a you know what I mean, like a rough draft for a screenplay. You know
Like
what I
an
mean?
outline.
Well,
Kind
yeah,
of.
an outline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. It's just an outline, isn't it? Like, oh, this is an
Yeah.
outline for a book, and then this would be like the very first outline, and then you make a rough draft, then you rewrite it, then maybe it's edited, then a final draft. You know what I mean? And it's like it makes it worse because he had all that time to do nothing. 5 fucking years this guy was taken in prison. Even the fucking title of the book annoys me, if I'm being honest. Taken abroad doesn't make any fucking sense. He wasn't taken anywhere for a start. He fucking went voluntarily.
It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But his mind was taken.
That was the first name of the book, wasn't it? Just Taken?
I don't know.
Taken, I think. I know this wasn't his first title, but
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure, but his mind and his sanity were taken while he was over there. He didn't have any control over that.
Wasn't his fault.
The man.
So your theory is shot down. How about that?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh boy.
His theory. Anyway.
Well, both titles suck. Both are lazy.
Yeah, and it's a stupid book, regardless of what the title is. I guess.
Yeah, that's our summary. It's a stupid book. The title is stupid. The author is stupid.
We've got 2 chapters left
also.
yet. It could actually turn out good.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the fucking
There was an earlier
spoiler.
comment. There was an earlier comment by Raffman saying that this is the problem with self-published books, that the market gets flooded with shit like this.
But luckily, most self-published books don't get read. We're only reading this because this weirdo fucking wrote it, and we think it's funny, which of course it is.
It is.
Yeah, but guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. It was a bit. I suppose it annoyed me because the video last week was split in 2 because of my internet outages, and it really pisses me off because it means people can't watch the video as like it flows. So, and because it was kind of there was so much humour and potential insight in this chapter, I thought we could go over it again. Plus, as well, it means that we've got a couple more weeks until we actually finish the fucking thing. So we've got, hopefully, if we can do a video next week, a brand new chapter 11. The penultimate chapter. We're getting close to the end. Let's see what happens to Aaron. We can't. I bet you can't fucking wait, guys, to hear what happens to Aaron and his family. Can you?
Can't wait.
Hey, don't forget. I have no idea what's going to happen. I've never read this. You weirdos. You've all read it.
I don't think I've gotten this far though.
You liar.
I know what happened.
No, I don't think that I have.
I have, but for some reason, most of the book, it kind of just goes in one ear and out the other. Like I don't retain any of it. I zone out for it. So
I wonder why.
I'm sure there's a couple surprises. I'm sure there's a few surprises left in the final chapters for me.
Yeah. Right, well, we will see what Chapter 11 holds very, very soon. So thanks, everybody in the chat, for bearing with us, getting through this monstrosity. We hope that you've enjoyed it, and thank you to my friends who have joined me today to go through it with me. Yeah, be safe, Shin. There's a bit of a reminder from Shin's manhole. Don't be falling down any manholes or in tight trousers and whatnot, Always good to be reminded of that.
I'm never going to share again.
Well,
Oh, I think you will.
I think there'll be a new Shin type avatar created for some new. There's loads of stuff I know about this guy, guys, that I'm not going to divulge because it would be dishonourable of me to do so. But there'll be something in a few weeks,
Oh
no
my
doubt.
God.
Yeah, see what
Well,
I mean?
they're
He kind of
ready to tell
knows
us
what I know
kidnapper,
about
too.
him now.
Oh my God. I smell blackmail.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, Lorne Legstrong. Poop Frog, thanks for joining us. And Refman, CBR,
Ooh.
Bitter Almonds, Mike Scott, NCA dude. I got you. Don't worry, dude. I got your email, and we'll be doing it soon. So, name your price. Well, we'll see about that, Shins Manhole. I've got some shit on this guy. Yeah. So, I'm gonna leave it in my locker just in case. What I'm gonna do if Shin starts chewing on streams again, I'm gonna have to blackmail him and just submit him to some kind of like Amber style torture. You know what I'm saying? But he's behaved himself today, so we're all right. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to tie him up and fucking dig a grave in front of him. A metaphorical one, of course. Right, okay, guys. So we've bored you for long enough with this nonsense. Please leave any comments, any new insights that you've gathered from the previous fucking 4 videos we did on this chapter. I don't think anyone in internet history has dedicated 4 lengthy YouTube streams, or, well, if you can call the 2 that were split, into analysing such a poorly written chapter of a poor book. And it's me that's done it. I don't think I'm quite proud of that, actually. I don't know what that says about me, but